That's probably terrible, Jen. You put it's too much pressure, Jen. It's too much pressure. What do you mean? The other day it was just a little bit of physics. It was quantifying your fitness, determining power. So as you guys all know, I'm on a pretty big mission here, trying to make everybody healthier. That's why that flag is hanging from the gym. I really believe that message. Now, how I moved it because it was blocking the windows, making it kind of dark by the desk. I wanted my light again, so I moved it up and hung it. So, talking a lot about the things you can do for your health. A lot of times we've been talking about nutrition. So I recently went back at the advice of the guy that wrote the CrossFit Journal, Greg Glassman, to go back and look at the CrossFit.com post starting on January 1st and on, from 2019. And for those of you who have been around CrossFit for a while, that is when they switched from talking about CrossFit Games athletes to like the 70-year-old sitcom, 70s sitcom set with the old folks in it. And the point being that like, along the journey of CrossFit, there was this misconstrued notion that like CrossFit was about making some sort of elite athlete. That information is true. CrossFit can make elite athletes, but the mission for CrossFit from the very onset was to make people healthier and more capable. And along the way of the CrossFit Games gaining popularity, that mission was sort of lost, and people thought the CrossFit Games was all CrossFit was, and it couldn't be further from the truth. What CrossFit is a methodology to make you all as capable and as healthy as possible so you can go out and enjoy your life to the fullest. Now, it's really cool if you love CrossFit like me and you want to get really good at CrossFit, but if you just want to be healthy, I truly believe there's no better plan that includes nutrition and exercise in the way that CrossFit does, in a way that actually makes people better and makes people more capable. And without going too far on that soapbox, one of the things they talk about on the first month or so of the CrossFit.com post are things that are influenced when people adopt the CrossFit lifestyle, which means eating a certain way, eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar, and exercise the way that we do. Because we avoid chronic disease when we train the way that we train and we eat the way that we train. Eat the way that we eat, excuse me. And one of the things that can become a peril and one of the chronic diseases we're actively trying to avoid is something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which simply means more than 5%, technically 5.5% of your liver is fat. Now, typically in the past, you would only see this fattening of the liver, which eventually leads to cirrhosis as a result of alcohol. But rapidly replacing that and currently replaced that is fattening of the liver due to excessive consumption of carbohydrates, specifically fructose. So essentially when this happens, the liver not only stores too much fat, it produces and imports too much fat, and it burns and exports very little fat. And as a result, it gradually builds up and becomes dysfunctional. This will cause things such as an increase in blood triglycerides. This will cause an increase in hepatic insulinemia. Basically, there's so much insulin floating in the bloodstream, the liver can no longer process insulin and can no longer take sugar in. Because unlike other sugars, fructose goes right from your stomach into your intestines and directly into your liver. It does not get broken down the way that other carbohydrates do. And as a result, it kicks off a cascade of problems that all lead to the liver being dysfunctional. So, essentially, how does it occur? It can occur from eating too much dietary fat. It can happen from metabolizing free fatty acids, but primarily it happens via hepatic de novo lipogenesis, which basically means the liver starts making fat. Right? That's what happens when we consume too much fructose. The liver starts making too much fat, and we get really bad at burning said fat. The primary mechanism for this is an overconsumption of fructose. So what foods contain fructose? Primarily processed foods. Things with high fructose corn syrup in it, things with corn syrup in it, things with anything that says sugar in it. It's not straight glucose, which no food that you can buy at the grocery store is straight glucose, is going to have some level of fructose in it. How do we avoid that? Shop the perimeter. If the thing doesn't spoil, it's not food. Go buy something from the center of your grocery store, put it on your countertop for a couple months, see if it expires. It won't. Now, why should you care? Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is becoming the #1 reason why people need liver transplants. Do you guys know what the hardest organ to acquire is when you need a transplant? Your liver. Now, I was looking this up earlier, and I'm going to talk a little bit more next time we have one of these conversations about the mechanisms for exactly how the liver becomes fatty, like what causes this, causes that, causes this. But essentially, I want you guys to know kind of the answer to fix the whole thing. Avoid processed carbohydrate. Eat low glycemic carbohydrates. And I think I've just told you this before, but you can just go into Google before you eat something, go, is X low glycemic? And it'll spit out a score. If it's less than 60, it's low glycemic. If it's more than 60, it's high glycemic. And then perform what we do in here every single day. Come in here, consistently do constantly varied exercise that's functional, and do that at intensity that's relative and high to you. Do you guys have any questions about it? Mom? Question?
No questions, a dumb question.
No questions, a dumb question, Mom.
What test is it when you have your blood taken annually that they would test to see if your liver is fatty?
The easiest way for you to know if you have a fatty liver is if you have high triglycerides. I mean, you can get your liver enzymes tested as well. Like you'll get your liver panel, like when you go through your normal like physical, you'll get a blood panel. And one of the things I want to say it's your albumin is one of the things they look at, but there are a few different things on your blood panel. I'll have to look that up. So I don't have the answer exactly, but you are a few things. Is it AST or? The AST and the ALT. Yeah, AST and ALT. Those two things, there are things in your blood panel along with your triglycerides that tell you, hey, something's going wrong. But I think the easiest one, the most obvious one, is triglycerides. When you overconsume fructose, your liver spits out more triglycerides. Triglycerides are what goes into your bloodstream, and that's one of the things that happens when we can no longer metabolize fat. We have an excess of triglycerides in the bloodstream. Yeah. Any other questions? No? What's it called?